Hi, everybody. It's good to see you here. I'm going to be talking a bit of how the union came to be, why, what's the background, and what are we going to do in the future, and how you could be part of that, or how you could benefit from that. I titled the presentation Dandelion on Concrete, and there is a very concrete reason behind that. We were very much considered not to be a unionizable industry. It was a shock both to many within and without the industry that we were able to do this, and yet here we are with you with two talks on Digital Dragons. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy that you're here to hear us talk. So what's all this about? What happened that the union happened? I'm sure many of you already know the most important piece of the background, that background being layoffs. Those layoffs impacted in 2023 over 10,500 people all across the world. It's a huge number for our industry. To be quite honest with you, this isn't even the whole number. We have done some research into it and into how it's reported. We believe it to be around 2/3 of the actual number at best, leaving us with over 13,000 people without jobs and seeking new jobs in the job market. And unfortunately, that momentum is only getting worse. Well, we've almost reached that number in 2024. It's estimated at around 9,500 right now, and it is awful. This is, again, not the whole number, so we don't know the whole number, but if this keeps going at the pace that it's going in and keeps speeding up at the pace that it's speeding up, of course it wasn't. We have a finite number of people in the industry, but if it were to be, this is a completely unsustainable business model. And it's one that we haven't seen before in the industry. Of course, there were layoffs after every project in every company. Everyone has seen a project end and people leave and people get fired. But to this extent is an over-exaggeration. And we could sit here and talk about the reasons of why this is for another hour. This is not what this talk is about. It's just important that you know that this multifaceted, crisis that we're having is happening to us and not with us. We are its victims and not active participants, and those changes are so massive that we have to be. This is a situation in which if we were to be contacted, things could be mitigated, changed to an extent that maybe those numbers would be lower and the consequences of those numbers less severe. But this is a global problem, right? And I'm here in Krakow with you. I live in Warsaw. What does it have to do with us? The Polish game dev industry is merely like what? 5% of that number, if that. But there is an important local context to all of this that I'll get to in a second. This is impacting us right now, right here, with the amount of people that are pouring in. The game dev global market is, as the name implies, global. People are coming in here to work from multiple different countries, and we are flying all over the world to work on many different great games. I'm sure some of you here are not native to Poland, and I assume many Polish people aren't here because they are out somewhere working on great games in the United States or in Norway or wherever else. And this is a problem. There aren't many new job postings, as I'm sure you're well aware, because people are firing, and the first instinct after firing someone is not, I need to hire someone. So the market gets oversaturated, and as such, the conditions worsen. We've seen it physically with people having to accept much worse deals than they're used to, get much less pay than they're used to, work on types of employment that are barely legal just because they have no other choice. They need money, they have families to feed, houses to upkeep, and the cost of living crisis isn't helping. So this is a very, very big problem that's only just hitting us and is going to hit even harder in the years to follow. This isn't sustainable. We can't have this happen every year or every other year. And the tech layoffs show us that. The problem is that we're even smaller than the tech layoffs. It's going to hit us even harder, even faster. But as I said, there's a local point to this. I myself am a worker at CD Projekt, and we too were impacted by those layoffs. That's just one part of the equation. It was, I believe, July 2023, summer, and we were just after the very last wave. Around 100 people were lost their jobs in that wave, and I was personally struck. I wasn't impacted by the layoffs, but people on whose work I relied and whose expertise I believed to be essential to the company's development lost their jobs, and I was sad, and I was looking for answers. I think all of us were. I think all of us always are when these things happen. This is a common thing that we just don't know. And the worst things happen in darkness. The worst things happen when we can't see them because no one is looking. And I wasn't alone in that thought. I had some great friends from CD Projekt who felt the very same. And I remember it was a beautiful day when I received a DM from Lev Key, who appeared in some of our promotional materials and was our first representative in CD Projekt, that something is happening, and he heard that I might be wanting to be part of that something, and that's how the Warsaw part came to be. We were quick to assemble a team of 10 people. That's necessary by Polish law to establish a workplace commission, 10 people. And we went around looking for trade union centrals who could take us in. Our best bet was Inicjatywa Pracownicza, and that's who we went with. They had some amazing successes with other service-type companies. Predominantly, there's Amazon Web Services, there is Allegro, there is Nielsen Media, and there are some great people in the printed media who seem to have shared a lot of our struggles and a lot of our problems and resonated with us a lot. And so that's who we went with. They wanted to be open to a new possibility, a new union, a union that not only takes in corporate workers and local indie workers and creates an environment in which standards for all of them can be increased. And a very similar thought happened in Poznań. I'm saying Poznań because that's where Artur is from. Artur's here with us. I'm very happy to see you here. But in general, that was the all-Polish front. Artur, Marta Fijak, and some other great, amazing people were assembling to counteract the pretty much same problems that we were. The worsening standards, the job instability. They were looking at it from an industry perspective, and they wanted a legal framework that they could fit in to better those conditions. And so they grouped together and also started looking for trade union centrals. And as we were ready to formalize in CD Projekt, we received an email from Marta Rozmysłowicz, our legal contact in Inicjatywa Pracownicza, who said, hey, there's this other group of guys who are doing the exact same thing. Maybe you want to team up or something? And within the week, we teamed up and we decided on a plan, and that's how it happened. The 14th of September 2023 was the big day when we met up, 10 people from CD Projekt, and established ourselves formally as a union commission. The official name was Tymczasowa Komisja Zakładowa Ogólnopolskiego Związku Zawodowego Inicjatywa Pracownicza w CD Projekt S.A. Rebels United. Rebels United was the name we went with before we picked out Polish Game Dev Workers Union, and when it was supposed to be predominantly CD Projekt workers. And that name was quickly relegated to just a legal name as we picked up a bit of a different mantle later on the Games Industry Conference, when on the 5th of October, Artur Ganszyniec, during his talk, announced the formation of the Polish Game Dev Workers Union. It was a huge hit. People loved it. The media loved it. I want to especially shout out Grzegorz Burtan here. He reached out to us before we announced ourselves publicly due to a bit of a communication mismatch between us and Inicjatywa Pracownicza. And Grzegorz was great, and we're still in contact with him, and CD Action is keeping a national treasure on its payroll. So the media was really favorable, and we were really lucky to have them and help them, and they helped us navigate a lot of the intricacies that came with creating something that's going to, what we hoped, change the industry. And the internal reaction was a bit more cautious, but still very much positive. Within 3 months, we were able to meet up with our contacts at CD Projekt a few times, and we were formally recognized as a commission that formed there. And we are still having a relationship that's amicable, and we help them consult stuff, and we talk on stuff that bothers us, and it's a great relationship. It's a great tool that we now have that we didn't before. One that perfectly complements the ones we did before, and at the same time, I personally feel like we have much more of a voice. And I'm sure the people who are with me in the CD Projekt Union would very much agree. And so that was a success. That was a boom. We established ourselves. We now have a workplace that we represent. We have a media presence. So what comes next? Formalization. It's a long process, and at the 3-month mark, we have to do something called the statutory meeting that formally transforms us from a temporary commission to a full one. And we did one at a building belonging to the University of Warsaw on the 9th of December. We had a huge, beautiful cake by Dosłodzone. I'm sure people from CDPR know and love Dosłodzone very much. It's run by a wonderful person who helped us get this cake, and it was a surprise even for me. And I was very, very happy when I saw it. It was delicious. And we also decided on the structure of our union. So how many presidium members, and who should be on the presidium, who should be in the audit commission, and who should represent us in front of the Workers' Initiative Congress. This is a photo we took then. This is not the full presidium. We're missing Amr from Product Madness, but from the left it's Paula from CD Projekt, Paweł from CD Projekt, Hubert Ogrodowczyk from 11 Bits, Udit, who's also here with us, and Paweł's back there, from Flying Wild Hog, and yours truly in the very same shirt I'm wearing today. We also then could finally officially change our name from that long string of words to another one. We became Komisja Międzyzakładowa Ogólnopolskiego Związku Zawodowego Inicjatywa Pracownicza Związek Pracowników Branży Gier, or in short, Związek Pracowników Branży Gier, or in English, Polish Game Dev Workers Union. This was very, very elaborate because technically, if we were to insert our workplaces, we'd have to insert one every time we expand, and as you'll soon see, that is a very long list. And we also did one more very, very important thing during that meeting. That was adding the między to the zakładowa. We officially came to be in 11-bit studios as a union there with Hubert Ogrodowczyk as the representative. And we really value our 11-bits members and love that we could become that this was a start of something greater. That was a start of something, but this is now happening industry-wide, and we only went further down from there. We are now at 5 different companies, which amounts to 4 studios. It's a bit confusing due to Flying Wild Hog being functionally 2 different companies, but we are at CD Projekt SA, 11-bit Studios, Flying Wild Hog Studios and Services, and Product Madness. This is a list for today, and while I don't have any great updates for you today, I strongly recommend looking for what might be happening this summer. Because, you know, Children's Day may bring presents. So now we have this. We're here, we have these companies and these representatives, but what can we actually do? Because that is not clear to many people. And hearing union nowadays doesn't really give many impressions. We don't learn about what unions do. It's not fabulous work, and it's not work that's heard in classrooms of podstawy przedsiębiorczości or any other kind of class that's meant to somehow prepare us for the job market. And it's a really important one because we can do a whole lot with just looking. This is a part of our manifesto. Our manifesto came in pretty early, but we still hold to it. We believe it is the base on which we can stand. And I'll read it because I don't have I don't have it memorized yet. Our mission as a union is to ensure job security, fair treatment, and transparency within our employer organizations. So that's the very, very basic rundown of what we do. There are 3 elements here, as you can see. First one is job security, or the union as a breakwater, or a falochron, for those of you who don't know that word. I didn't before I brought up this presentation. Unions have a right to a lot of knowledge. That knowledge includes information about when a company wants to terminate a single employee working on a contract of employment, which is already 1/3 of our workforce, which isn't that much, but it's still a lot. We've done that a couple of times already, and at the very least, it gives the worker a heads up. Something is happening, I can prepare. And at the best of times, it allows us to help this person not only organize the proofs of their labor, organize feedback, prep for any offboarding that may occur, fight for better conditions of severance if need be, or maybe even highlight why the termination doesn't have to happen at all. While it may sound like this is just, oh, we can say stuff, employers do want us to sign off on those, because if we don't, that's basis for a lawsuit in the labor court, and they don't really want that. So they want to keep things clean, and if if nothing else, this makes sure that they keep things clean, that there isn't someone being thrown out the desk immediately on day one, that we know what's happening, that everyone has a clear view, that we are on a level playing field. And that's one part, but the other one is that in case of layoffs that we're having right now, well, we have to be contacted a lot more. The novelizations to the act about mass dismissals, or ustawa o zwolnieniach grupowych, is that we are now allowed to count people on all different types of employments into mass layoffs. So what does that mean? If a company dismisses enough people in a short enough amount of time, that counts as a group layoff. And we then have to be contacted and negotiated with about every single piece of that dismissal. That includes severance packages, that includes severance benefits like mental help or consultations, that even gives us space to negotiate the numbers. If it's termination based on the fact that we need to restructure, maybe these people can be moved into a different position that's going to need filling soon. There's a lot of intricacies that numbers that come to play with mass dismissals don't really show, but we as workers, we as employees of these companies just know and can talk about. This gives us a 20-day window in which we can research, talk about, and consult every part of those mass dismissals. And sure, we may not be able to stop them, but if nothing else, we can at least soften the blow. And quite frankly, with the numbers we are having, that is going to be a real big help. We also are a community, and thus we do share a lot of internal knowledge. We have educational materials on all things relating to the labor law, or types of contracts, or how to read a contract, actually. We provide help with all of that. We do some internal mock interviews and CV reviews. This is all things we do because we want to help each other. Because a union's primary goal is to fight alienation, to bring us all together. And in times of crisis, that is as necessary as water, I'd say. Next up, fair treatment, the union as an equalizer. It's super easy to mistreat an employee who's one-on-one with HR. That much has been true through all of history, all of corporate history. It's much easier to swindle someone out of something if they have no idea what they're signing into, they don't have time to consult it with anyone, and they don't know what is safe and what isn't. And we can provide that help. We have legal support, we have our own expertise, and we regularly help people with all types of issues. Predominantly, unfortunately, still a big problem is that companies don't pay their workers properly or at all. We've had multiple cases where we've helped people without public involvement of ourselves, so without revealing that this person is a part of the union now, help them get their money back for the work that they've done, for unpaid invoices, for unpaid overtime. And that is only going to get worse, I'm afraid, but we are going to keep helping with it. And if you or someone you know has that problem, please don't hesitate to recommend us. And don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll gladly help. You don't have to already be a member. We all know that the situation at the market is terrible, and we want to help in any way we can. And I'd say all of us are our own. We're also working on a more long-term solution, a set of standards much like the American guilds have for their workers about overtime, about pay, about work hours, about AI usage and how it can interact with the workplace. This is a lot of research. and it's not going to be happening this year or next year, but we're running a marathon here, not a sprint. That was one of the first things we said when we met up in the CD Projekt group. We're working on building something here, not pushing something through. And we hope that these standards and the enforcement of them eventually will lead to an industry that's stable, that's safe, that's just fair. The last one is transparency. As I said, the worst things happen in the darkness, and the union as a watchdog is allowed to a lot of knowledge. I've already mentioned the determination, the dismissals, but there is also a lot of knowledge that we are entitled to based on the fact that legally we have to be provided with all the documents that are necessary for union functioning, and those are not specified, so they cover a lot of different things. Work regulations, remote work regulations, pay regulations, all of that is something that we are entitled to as a union, and that we can consult with the company, we can opinionate, and we have to be consulted on every change that happens to them. So no more, we changed the work regulations 8 weeks ago and are just letting you know, because we consulted that back 8 months ago when we received the news that something is going to be changed. We generally do that only with people who are in the union due to, safety and security. But it's still something that eliminates some of that fog of war that we're talking about here. We also do some of our own personal research into market conditions. I'm sure most of you have already seen Paula's and Arthur's great talk yesterday that covered the work time survey, but right now we're also having the salary survey running. You can find it on our LinkedIn, and I highly encourage you to check that out. Arthur has been running it for years now, and it's been a source for both companies and employees alike to help them negotiate for pay, both in new jobs and in case of promotions and whatnot. So we covered what we can do. So what does the future look like now? We have a legal framework that can see a lot, help a lot. How does that change us as an industry? Now I'm going to be doing a bit of prophesizing, but bear with me here, as I believe these are quite sane assumptions. We unfortunately expect the layoffs to continue. This is most likely not the end, and it's an awful thing to admit. I'd like to say that we are going to stop them all, but I can assure you that we most probably won't. And that the number that we have, 9,500, is going to keep rising, and we aren't going to see all of it, but we are going to look for all of it, and we aren't going to make it easy. We aren't going to make it easy to just, at a whim, dismiss half your company and leave skeleton crews. We are going to make sure that every time a layoff happens, people are safer in the sense that they can come to us and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, but I'm not sure whether I'm doing things right, whether my CV is okay, whether my skills are up to par. Should I be aiming lower, higher? Hey, I have this contract that I have to sign because I don't have any money left to sustain my family. So can you please help me and tell me, is this good enough? We are going to be there, and we are going to make things better as they come. Some companies will still employ bad practices, harm their workers. This is most likely never going to stop as long as we are in the economic framework we are now. That's just part of it, but we are going to help those in need that come to us. If you or someone you know has problems, we are here. If they have questions, we are here. If they need help with legalese, we are here. We are going to help every single person who comes to us with problems with not getting paid or being forced to work extreme overtime hours. And we are going to try to make the industry better bit by bit, although it is going to be extremely hard, and we realize not everyone will come to us right now, and that we won't always have time to figure every problem out immediately. But God damn it if we're not going to try our damn best. And with all of that, I think a better future for all of us is coming. This isn't going to be an easy ride up, but things are getting better and have been getting better for some time, and this is another testament of it. It's going to take work from all of us here to bring trust, bring communication, to talk, to consult, to console each and everyone for this to get better, but it is going to get better. We as the union and we as the game dev industry can and will do better, and we are going to support one another into a better future. At least that's what I believe will happen. This is the end of the presentation proper. On the right you have a QR code that will lead you to a declaration. Udit also has some printed out declarations. If you'd like to fill them in, either contact Udit or myself via any means, or DM us on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you have. We're pretty much everywhere. If you'd like to ask any questions, please, we're open.
Hi. First of all, thank you. After many years in the industry, it's nice to finally see like talks about unions by the water cooler. It's great. And my question is, I saw that you're also accepting applications even if somebody is not employed or is a solo dev. Unless I'm mistaken?
No, you are correct.
Okay.
We are.
If so, how can a solo dev or unemployed person help the union, and how the union can help unemployed person or a solo dev?
All right, that is a very good question, and there is a lot of facets to that. So I'm going to start with how an unemployed or solo dev can help the union. In the most basic sense, being a member requires that you pay a fee unless you are unemployed and unable to, in which case we do weave that. But that is a part of it. It is 15 zloty a month, but 15 zloty to 15 zloty is at the very end a couple hundred, right? At 200 people, I'm going to not do the maths in my head, but you figure it out. But besides that, there is a lot that the union does on the daily. We have social media that we really need help with because we're all, active developers. We're people from inside the industry, so we have as much free time as our projects allows us. So we need as much help with that as possible. We have a lot of those educational scenarios. We're trying to get people to write information about types of contracts, about intricacies of contracts, about how to get into it, how to get back into it, and what to look for in a job posting and what to avoid, what are some red flags, green flags. We also want people to share their experiences. I'm not going to say we keep a blacklist because that's not what we do, but if someone gets royally screwed over by some Januszeks, then we'd like to know that. That is an important piece of information that we want to keep because it's going to help people know how to navigate the job market. And we also just do a bunch of little different things, stuff like the surveys. We feedback them before they go out. We see the results before they go out. We talk a bit about the results and what they actually mean, and also just to meet people, the network, right? Building community is a big part of running a union, and so just being there sometimes is more than enough. So that's what the person can do for the union, but what the union can do for a person. So an unemployed person, if they are looking for work in the game dev sector, have a lot of ways that can benefit from a union. We, as I said, do some mock interviews, do some CV reviews. We do job posting reviews, as in, hey, I found this and this looks kind of applicable to me. Has anyone heard of this company? Does the job posting look correct? Hey, someone sent me a trial test for the interview, and it requires me to build essentially a full game system in a week. Is that reasonable? No. So we have a lot of resources and a lot of help that we can like physically provide to people who are looking for jobs. And when it comes to solo devs, we also do a lot of like knowledge interaction. Like we share our personal projects, we share info on how we do things, why we do things the way we do. Working with games requires a lot of different types of knowledge. So a solo dev needs a lot of info about all of them. And when you have a huge community of game developers that's at your disposal from Discord, and you say, hey, I'm looking to make a life sim, and I don't know the first thing about AI. Chances are somebody is at the very least going to point you to materials that could help you out. And the networking part is a big part of it too. So we're really trying to make make community here.
Thank you for the presentation. I just two technical questions, basically. You said about a union covering for the mass layoffs. I'm wondering if just all the people that are laid off have to be in a union to be for the union to take action, or just one person in that group has to be in a union, and then union takes all of them under its wings. And the second question is, how many people does it take to add another company to the union? Is it 10? Like how it takes 10 to make a union in the first place, or it works like something else? Thank you.
Both great questions. So when it comes to the first question, how many people it takes for a mass layoff to be covered by the union, not a single person from that group has to be in the union for us to be forced into talks with the company. As in, if a company lays off a certain amount of people, I don't remember off the top of my head what that number is. I'm sure the maximum, absolute maximum for large companies is 30 people in the span of a month. But it is a percentage based on like for like smaller companies, and has some minimum. 10%. Oh, thank you. And has a minimum that I also don't remember. But not as this is when that happens, that is considered a substantial enough policy change for the company that the union has to be consulted as per the Act on group dismissals. And as I said, those people who are being dismissed, they can be on any type of employment, including B2B, specific work mandate, or a contract. So that's one thing. And to the question of how many people demands for a company to be taken in by a union, that is a bit of a complex question, because truthfully, it only requires one. but having one person in such a company it's a tricky thing. We generally try to get people to get companies who have at the very least 10 people, because that allows us to get one more protected person in. And that person is presumably from that company or from a sister company at the very least, and could help be responsible for communication with that workplace. This hasn't been the case for all of our companies, but we try to do that now because it makes life so much easier. It's still a bit of a hassle because communication has to be signed by the presidium. But truthfully, if you have a situation in which like 3 people in a small company need a union to be there, the union will be there. And we'll establish ourselves there. But in general, when there are disputes in smaller companies and it's 1-2 people approaching us, there are steps we can take before formalization to make sure they are protected. And if it comes to that, it comes to that, and we'll help to the best of our abilities.
Thank you for the talk. Are you working with or collaborating with other unions internationally, or will you in the future?
Yes, we are. So currently we're conducting a case on Alpha CRC, a localization company that has already, allegedly, hasn't been confirmed in court yet, screwed multiple people out of their invoices on the costs of thousands of euros of unpaid wages. This is a case we are tackling with the independent workers of Great Britain, who have a phenomenal game dev branch. We are also in some contact with SGTV, the French equivalent of our union, and we are working with them as closely as we physically can. We have so much to do locally that we don't really have time to get into international relationships, but we are trying to establish them and trying to make them a bigger thing. Our dream, we have plans. We have plans that we don't really want to share yet, I don't think. But what I can say is that the international groups for unionization need a bit of a kick, is what I'd say.
Thank you for the lecture. Could you tell us and share with us some numbers? For example, how many members the union has currently right now in CD Projekt, 11 bits, etc.?
So for all of the companies that we are formally established in, I can't give you the numbers because I don't remember them. But for the entirety of the union, because how the union reports numbers, because it does have to report numbers, is we report numbers on a bi-yearly basis. So we report on our numbers from the 31st of December and the 31st of June. So we're going to have a bigger update at the end of June. But what I can say is that in total, we are a bit under 200 people. If there are no more questions, I guess we can wrap up. Again, I'll remind you about. Can we go back a slide for just a sec? I highly encourage you to visit our page, gamedevunion.pl, and learn a bit. Despite the PL extension, it is also in English. And join us. Grab some pins from Judith. We have wonderful, wonderful pins. Judith and Artur have them. So if you'd like one, don't hesitate to grab one. Udit also has declarations if you'd like to fill one in. And fill in the salary survey. Thank you very much. We can get back to the conference QR code, and I encourage you to vote 5 stars or whatever the system is. Thank you very much.